has been another informative and exhilarating Premier League weekend. In particular, the match between Arsenal and Manchester United at the Emirates yesterday. Really, really superb match, I thought. And there were other interesting results as well in the Premier League. But we'll start with Arsenal and Manchester United. And it's a pleasure to be joined by John Giles and Liam Brady to discuss this game. Liam, I thought it was a wonderful game. Joy to watch Arsenal for most of the game. You must be very happy. And Nketiah, the boy you signed at 10 years of age, scored 2 goals. And the winner, which was vital, and a really good goal in the first half, which was an equaliser, because United did go 1-0 up.
Yeah, it was a terrific game, Eamon. And Arsenal had to show, I thought, the real strength of belief in themselves. Especially when they went 2-1 up and then they were pulled back to 2-2.
Yeah.
But I thought after it went to 2-2, they really dominated the game and pushed for that winner. And they've done that all season. I know we've said it a few times on the podcast, how they go looking to win games. They don't settle for draws.
Yes. And
they've been absolutely terrific this season. And the last 2 games really... against Spurs, and then to beat Spurs away, and then to beat United at home in the manner in which they did it, I think was very, very impressive.
Yeah, John, the 5 points clear with a game in hand, but there's half a season to play because of the World Cup. There's still a long way to go. I think exactly half the season, 19 games to go, I think, for Arsenal with their game in hand. I thought it was an exhilarating match. I loved watching it. And Nketiah, of course, looks a real killer goal scorer. The other, even better footballer, perhaps, is Saka. He looks to me like the absolute real deal, and he'll be that forever. What's your take on him, John?
Yeah, I would agree with what you say. Saka has been a very promising lad since he's come into the team.
Yeah,
and he has this deadly left foot coming in from the right side. It's impossible, like the goal he scored. It's impossible for goalkeepers to get near it. He's really good. And what's good about him is they're a young team, and he's done a great job, Arteta, because when you see them playing in big matches like this, like Spurs last week and Man U this week, they're expected to win.
Yes, yeah.
That's a big thing, because the young lads say, well, yeah, you did well, you got a draw or whatever it was, but they're going out to win.
Yes.
And they're top of the league, as Liam said and you said, they're only halfway through, but the reaction so far from the players, these young players, is very, very, very good. And Liam's lad, Nketiah, is that you call him, Nketiah?
And Nketiah,
yeah, I saw him interviewed Eamon last week, one of the matches, one of the days, and he was brilliant. He was a young kid who was loving what he was doing, couldn't wait to play.
The family were Arsenal. They were an Arsenal family.
Yeah, but for a kid to go on like that, like you can tell some of them are a bit cocky or get ahead of themselves. And this was a real kid who was loving.
Yeah.
What he was doing, he was really felt special at playing for the team that he grew up with and that. So Liam has done a great job there. I mean, he don't forget when we all thought when Jesus was injured, they're in big trouble.
Yes.
They're going to have to get this kid has come in.
Yeah.
And he's done brilliantly for them.
Yeah.
But Arsenal are very, very impressive. I'd just like to see Arteta calm down a little bit again. I mean, anyway, That's by the way. But there was a really good match and a great win. For Arsenal. That's 2 wins, like 2 vital wins over this period of time.
Yeah.
Against Spurs and Man U.
Yeah.
They've been really, really good.
They've 2 games against Manchester City in their programme. Liam, Saka, what most impresses me about him is when the ball arrives at his feet, he immediately is looking to attack the fullback or the defender. No messing around, real purpose to get into a dangerous position, get a crossing, get a shot in. I mean, I remember him missing a penalty against Italy in the European Championship final in the Euros at Wembley and being abused afterwards. And I felt very sorry for him. But watching him in particular, he sort of sets a tempo for Arsenal, doesn't he?
He does, and he's mature beyond his age, Eamon. You know what I mean?
How old is he, Liam?
He's 21, I think. You know, but he plays like a wise old pro, doesn't he?
Yes.
You know, he knows exactly what he's going to do with the ball when it comes to him.
Yeah,
he's very, very pacey, and as John said, he's operating out on that right hand side. If you show him the line, he'll take it because he can cross with his right foot, and he's speedy. So difficult game for a full back, and I thought Shaw had a difficult game. Shaw was a bit lucky that he wasn't booked earlier, I thought.
Yes.
But he scored a wonderful goal coming in on his left foot. He's actually been at the club since he was 8 or 9 years of age.
Yeah.
Eddie Nketiah, Chelsea let him go when he was 14.
Wow.
Eddie was just a very slight lad. But when we took him in and we trialled him, he just kept scoring goals. You know, he wouldn't play particularly well, but if you looked at who scored the goals, Eddie was always amongst them, you know.
Yeah.
And now he's stronger. You saw yesterday as well that he knows positions to pick up in the goal mouth where the ball might drop. It's striker's instinct, a real striker's instinct.
Yes.
And he can tuck them away, and he's got bigger and stronger. So they're two great, you know, success stories from the Arsenal academy. And then on top of that, the guys that we've been going on about the last few weeks, Xhaka, I thought was very good. Partey wasn't bad. I thought Zinchenko, up and down the left was really, really good. You know, so,
outstanding game. Yeah.
And then Trossard, who came on, did a bit as well. So he might be an interesting addition to the squad. So, it's between two teams now. I think with that win yesterday, we've knocked Manchester United out of the title race. And I think it's a 2-horse race now, Eamon.
It is, yeah. And they have an advantage of 5 points with the game in hand. You can never take anything for granted. John, there's a couple of question marks I have about this Arsenal team. One of them, it's about the centre of their defence, or their defence overall. White is one of them. They took him off at half-time yesterday. The other one is Gabriel. He's Brazilian, and I think he looks a bit sort of unpredictable, should we say. But most teams that win, nearly all teams that win championships, and both of you, John and Liam, will know, you do need to be rock solid in the centre of defence, defensively in general, of course. And Arsenal don't look rock solid to me with Gabriel and White in the team. What would you say to that, John?
Well, Gabriel is a very, very good player, Eamon.
Yes.
But what I know, Liam know him better than I do. He's inclined to do anything.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
He'd be first in a row. He'd be first to take person down. I think White is more calmer type.
Yes, he is. Oh, yeah, there's nothing wrong with his temperament. I think it's just quality in his case. But Liam will tell us definitively. It struck me yesterday while I was watching the match that there's not many clean sheets. And you do need clean sheets when you're trying to win championships, as both of you know. Liam with Juventus, you at Leeds. If this is a big target and it's a big prize, and you don't get it by giving up goals.
Yeah, well, you can do it. It can be done. I mean, obviously, you want to be keeping a clean sheet in every match that you play, But if you're doing enough overall, Eamon, it's okay. You know, right. I mean, if you're winning matches and you can still do it, it's okay. I mean, Xhaka is another one that I'd be a bit wary about when it comes to the real crunch now near the end of the season, where he can lose the head as well. So far, so good. I mean, he's playing well. He's keeping his head. He's doing okay. Gabriel is doing okay for them to win matches. And again, like Arteta now needs to do, and it probably is, doing a job on both of them, Eamon, you know, to keep the head. But when it comes into the big matches now near the end of the season, there will be a lot of pressure on, and they have to keep their head to do what needs to be done.
Liam, am I nitpicking by highlighting their defence? I'm thinking of them now in terms of a championship-winning team and what's required.
Well, White's been very, very good, Eamon. That was the first poor game I thought he had. He's had in a while, you know, and he probably struggled a bit against Rashford and his speed.
Yes.
And he got booked earlier on. I think it might have been a foul for Rashford. So I think Arteta made a good call taking him off in the first half. I don't know whether he had a knock I don't know, but it seemed to me to be a tactical substitution.
Yes.
And bring Tomiyasu, the Japanese defender, on.
Yeah.
Who played well when he came on. But White's been very good all season. If there is a mistake in our defence, it's usually Gabriel. Right. As you said, he's unpredictable. He can maybe give a penalty away or misplace a pass or try a dodgy pass. But, all in all, as John says, they're getting away with the slight errors that these guys might make because they've been so good going forward. They're getting lots of goals. And there's goals are all over the team, Eamon. Saka can score, Nketiah can score. Odegaard, he's got a few goals. The centre-backs, Gabriel and Salida at the back, they can get a goal as well. So, it bodes well, but we've talked about it before. They are a young team, and the pressure is not really started yet. That comes on in and around March, April time. Yeah. Saliba is the centre-back. I mispronounced his name, Eamon. But they've been really, really impressive all over the pitch. Everybody's played their part. So they've got Everton next week, and the way Everton are playing, you would say that should be a nailed-on win. I know you shouldn't really look too far ahead.
No,
but if they can keep getting points on the board, it puts so much pressure on Manchester City not to slip up.
Right, and let me just say, John, I'll start talking about City with you. At his press conference on Friday, John, Pep Guardiola said the following: "We are a happy flowers team. We are far away from the team that we were. There is nothing from the stomach, the guts, no passion, fire, desire to win from minute one." Now, he isn't the kind of coach, I can't ever remember him castigating his own team in those terms. It was quite strong stuff, John. And they went out and Haaland scored a hat-trick and they beat Wolves 3-0. But that was strong stuff. Now, you in particular, and me also, have talked about City not looking right for about 6 or 8 weeks now, and they don't look right. But what do you make of his reaction? Was it an attempt to G them up?
Well, I think he was right, Eamon.
He was right.
I mean, over the years, I think Liam, yourself, and myself lauded Pep Guardiola for the way they worked really, really hard to get the ball back, Eamon.
Yeah.
Now, like if you look at it now since last week or this season, they haven't been doing that.
No.
They haven't been doing that. Now, they did it last week against Spurs because they had to do it.
Yes.
That was the Manchester City that we knew as title holders and a great team.
Yeah.
And the response against Spurs was fantastic to do what they did. And I think that's what he's saying. That's what we have to do. This is what we have to get back to.
Yes.
Because they weren't doing it this season, Eamon, and maybe a bit last season. That getting the ball back. They were 50% of their game.
Yes.
It was absolutely brilliant. And I think that's what he's saying to them now. And to be fair, I didn't see the whole match against Wolves at the weekend. Saw them against Spurs. Definitely second half, they were back to where they were before and went on to win the match.
Yeah.
Liam, I think, saw them yesterday. I didn't see them. Liam can tell us, were they back to their best in getting the ball back as well?
Yeah, they were, John. Yes, they were. Yeah. They swarmed all over Wolves.
Yeah.
And Wolves just couldn't cope,
Yeah.
I think it was a wake-up call, that outburst by Guardiola. It was like if we don't watch ourselves, we're not going to win this league,
Yes.
We've been complacent a number of times. And I think he was really, really upset the way they played against Spurs in the first half.
Yes.
Okay, they turned it around. I can imagine what was said to the press on Friday might have been said in the dressing room at half-time against Spurs.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, just to recall what happened, I mean, Spurs went 2 up just for half time. And, Spurs are notoriously not good in the Northwest, whether it's Manchester, Liverpool, or wherever they go. And they weren't playing particularly well, but they got 2 soft goals. But City did come out in the second half and get the 4 goals required. It's a big test, Liam, for Guardiola now, but he doesn't really seem to have a settled team. That's always been my beef with him. I've no idea what team he'll pick for the next important match. Have you?
No, he's been a great believer in rotation, and they do play an awful lot of games because they're usually involved in the cups. I know they got knocked out of the League Cup by Southampton there last week or 10 days ago, but normally they win the League Cup every year or they're in the final.
Yeah.
So he does like to rotate his players, you know.
Yes.
And but you know they are an excellent team, and so many of the players have been there, like De Bruyne has been there and won it. Gundogan's been there and won it.
Bernardo Silva.
And Haaland. With Haaland, you know, I know we were talking about the fact he didn't get a shot on goal against Manchester United, but the lad has got 31 goals in 25 games or something like that, all in, and 25 goals in 19 matches or 20 games. You know, he's going to break. He's going to break most records aiming for goal scoring. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's only about 4 off being the Golden Boot. You know, last year's Golden Boot winner, I think, was Song with 26 goals. He's got 25 league goals already. So the only way Manchester City have let themselves down this year, if they've been complacent in certain games. And I think that's what Guardiola was saying. And I think Guardiola has seen Arsenal, and he knows that they might not make many slip-ups. So he's got to get that City team on a winning run, like week in, week out.
Yeah.
But he's done it before. The big thing about him is that they have lost that 50% of their game getting the ball back.
Yes.
That's the big issue.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's saying to them. This is what we've got to get to back again.
Yeah.
And I think you'll see a different Manchester. Well, I think we've seen a different Manchester City since the Wolves match in the second half. I didn't see the match yesterday, but they won well, I think, against Wolves. Yeah. So that's the complacency that can happen in any team, Eamon.
Yeah.
Getting the ball back is the hardest thing in the game, as we know. And they were the best in the league at doing that when they didn't have the ball. And I think that's what he's saying now. We've got to get back to that. And I think if they do, then there'll be a really good race between themselves and Arsenal.
Now, there's also a big race for the top 4 spot to get in the Champions League. And at the moment, Newcastle United are in 3rd position. John, Eddie Howe has done a really good job there. I mean, they were pushovers for most teams before he arrived. He hasn't spent extravagant. He spent a couple of 100 million, but that these days maybe only gets you 2 or 3 players. But they are really decent now. I saw them against Crystal Palace. It was a 0-0 draw, but Palace isn't an easy place to go. They're 3rd in the table. They've conceded fewer goals than any team in the Premier League, 11, which is amazing. They've got a real chance, John, of, qualifying for the Champions League, which would be amazing.
Yeah, well, he's done a great job.
He has done a good job. Yeah.
You were always a fan of Eddie Howe.
I was, yeah. And, well, at Bournemouth, I mean, the club was in administration when he took over, and he took them to the Premier League, and they stayed in the Premier League 5 years.
Yeah.
And the capacity of the ground is 11,500. It's a miracle stuff.
Oh, yeah, he's done a huge job. The way they played, I watched the match against Palace, and Palace did really well. I mean, he has them going well. Vieira has them going well.
Yes, he has, yeah. That's always a hard place to go.
Hard place to go. So I thought Newcastle played really well on the day. I know they didn't win, but they played really well on the day. They didn't lose their heads either, Eamon, when they weren't winning. They kept doing all the things that you should be doing, regardless of the score. So he's done a huge job there. And they do have the resources now, Eamon.
Yes.
To back him.
Oh, no question about that, yeah.
No question about that. So but what he's bought so far, he's bought a few players in, good steady players.
Yes.
No superstars as we would know them. But I'd say if he wants to get the superstars at the end of the season, in this close season,
no problem.
He'll get them, no problem. No, he's done a terrific job. They played really well. They kept playing. They didn't score, as we know, against Palace, but they kept at it. And Palace did really well. But Newcastle, Eddie Howe, should be in the running for manager of the year, Eamon, in my opinion.
Yeah, Liam, he's been around a long time, Eddie Howe, and he was doing this quiet miracle. Every time the England job came up, I thought he should have got it. Every time Manchester United were looking for a new manager, he never appeared in the picture. And now he's been given a chance with a big club in terms of fan base and everything. And I think the key player he bought was Kieran Trippier, actually, from Spurs, who's got a bit about him. He's a bit of a leader. But he hasn't gone mad with the money yet.
No, he got Trippier from Atletico Madrid.
That's right. Yeah,
he brought him back. Trippier had been at Spurs, good player, good fullback, good solid fullback. He bought very, very wisely. And let's not forget that when he went to Newcastle, they were in a relegation.
They were Liam. Yeah.
Very, 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 very quickly he turned the tide, and he got them up the table. And I don't know whether it was around the time that the Saudi money came in, and I don't know whether they thought maybe this guy he's done a good job keeping us up. We'll stick with him for another year, but they probably wanted a marquee manager, one of these jobs. Yep. But he's certainly given them food for thought that he should be at the helm for the next few seasons at least, and give him the money to invest in the team. Let him make the calls on who the players, who he wants,
Yes.
He's an excellent manager. They've only lost once this season, Amy. Same as Arsenal. They've only lost once.
Yeah.
He's done a terrific job. And the way Newcastle and the way Chelsea and Liverpool are playing this season, I would give them every chance to get in that top four.
Yeah, me too. I think they'll be in a battle with United, because Spurs at the moment are fifth, and I don't think Spurs are going anywhere. Just let me move on, John and Liam. I'll start with you, John, on this. I felt a certain sadness watching Liverpool and Chelsea play Saturday lunchtime. I think it's over for them. I really do. And I'm not just talking about Liverpool, both of them. It ended 0-0, and probably 0-0 was the right score. But what did you make of it, John? And the team selection of Jurgen Klopp in particular, I think he's resting players, probably for the Champions League against Real Madrid. But he left a lot of good players on the bench. He has a lot of good players injured, and the team he put out really wasn't a Liverpool team.
No, well, he was a good few young fellas in it, Eamon, as well.
Yeah.
As you say, he had a lot of injuries as well to go into it, Eamon.
Yeah.
But I think he's give up on the Premiership this year, as you say. I think he's probably resting players now to go for the Champions League. That's what it looks like at the moment. But it was one of the poorest Liverpool-Chelsea games I've seen for a long time.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Now Potter has a lot of new players coming into it. I'd say he'd be in a better position at the moment than Klopp is, because he has. I don't know who's buying the players for him, but they bought an awful lot of new players, young players, that he's got to put together for the team to make a team from them. But he certainly, I'd say, at the moment, in a better position than Klopp is.
Yeah, Chelsea paid 88 million for a guy called Mudryk. He's Ukrainian, and he came on just after half time as a sub. He impressed a lot of people. I think you were taken with him as well. I saw a lot of people, Steven Gerrard, a lot of people like that, saying he looks the real deal. Well, it's a bit early after 45 minutes football, but they're certainly flashing the cash, Chelsea.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, we don't know this lad. He's a Ukrainian lad, as you said, and he seems to be a young lad. But he looked pretty good when he came on, but that's only on 40 minutes, 45 minutes at the most. But they have bought a lot of players at Chelsea. I mean, so like if they do what they're supposed to do, he should be able to do a good job with them.
Right.
I think in Klopp's situation, we don't know where the club is. Is it going to be sold? Is it not going to be sold? We don't know. But things are not right there. That's for sure.
Yeah, and Liam, one of the players Chelsea have bought, I think it must have been the new owner, is Aubameyang. He came on for the last 10 minutes against Liverpool, and you had him at Arsenal. It's hard to know exactly what's going on at Chelsea, isn't it, in terms of whether Graham Potter is actually buying the players or whether they're being bought for him.
Well, I think Aubameyang came before Potter, if I'm correct, Eamon.
Yeah, that's why I think the owner bought him.
Yeah, he probably did. And I think you could throw another 3 or 4 in the hat
You could,
as well.
yeah.
Arsenal were very keen to get this Ukrainian lad, Mudryk.
Yes.
He was excellent against Ireland in the 2 games in the Nations League. He really was excellent and playing really well for Shakhtar Donetsk in the Champions League. And a lot of people wanted to get him, but Chelsea just come in and blew Arsenal out of it.
Yes, yeah.
The money. I don't know how this financial fair play works, but Chelsea seem to be able to spend any money they want. It's amazing. But Potter is going to have a new team at the start of next season, and I think Klopp has decided he can't trust his old players anymore. They were terrible against Brighton a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
They got hammered. It could have been 6.
Yeah.
And so I don't know whether I don't think he was resting players for the upcoming Champions League. That's not till the 14th or 21st, I think, of February. Yeah. So I think he was making a point saying, like, you guys have got to pull your finger out if you want to be playing for me, Right. He put quite a few kids in. But both teams are struggling to make the Champions League this season. Okay,
John, just a couple I want to talk to you and Liam about a young Irish lad, Evan Ferguson, who scored Brighton's equaliser in the last minute at Leicester. He looks very, very excited. He scored a great goal. But let me ask you first about Leeds, John. 0-0 at home to Brentford. Given how Brentford can be a difficult team to play against, it's not the worst result in the world, but they do need to watch themselves, don't they?
Yeah. You don't know what to expect from them, Eamon, really.
Yeah.
Brentford were settling for a draw in the game, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But Leeds didn't look like scoring.
No.
Even Brentford, at times got through on them. Bamford has come back. They need him badly because he's the real goal scorer, you know.
Yeah.
And he's looked fit when he's come back, but you don't know what to expect from Leeds, Eamon. They were okay against the match. They didn't deserve to be beaten, but they didn't deserve to win it either.
Are you worried that they could be? They're only really a couple of points clear, 1 point clear of Bournemouth, who've got 17 points, and they're actually in the bottom 3.
Oh yeah, they're not out of the woods at all.
Right.
I think they'll just about make it. I think they'll be okay. I think they'll have enough to avoid relegation. But there's a lot of teams down there, as we know.
Yeah.
Like if you look at Everton's position, I don't know if you're going to mention Everton, but
I was going to ask both you and Liam finally about Everton. Frank Lampard went there. A lot of people have been there. Really top managers, but nobody seems to be able to rescue the club, Liam.
Yeah, it's in a bad way, isn't it? And we had a situation last week where the directors didn't even attend the match because they were frightened of the security fears, for their security.
Yep.
So it's been a mess. I don't know. I don't know where Everton's going, really. They've spent a hell of a lot of money. And here's the manager at Fulham, and he's doing a terrific job. If they beat Spurs tonight, he's a Portuguese chap. His name escapes me now. But
Silva. His name is Marco Silva.
Silva, that's right. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he got sacked. He got sacked at Everton because they weren't doing good enough. It's a club that has kind of pretensions above their station, I think,
Yeah.
But they have spent money, but they probably haven't given the manager the money to spend. It's been to the director of football.
Yes.
It's the old chestnut that John often goes on about. It's not the manager picking the players, and that's probably why they're in so much trouble. They've had a couple of sporting directors there, I think, and they've had Bill Kenwright getting involved as well. So it really is a mess. But to go back to young Evan Ferguson, and he's a Whitehall boy. He's played for St. Kevin's. I don't know whether you remember.
His father played.
Yeah, Barry Ferguson. Yeah. But if you go back to his grandfather, I used to play with him, Ferguson at St. Kevin's Boys. And
oh, really?
And Ferguson's brother was called Damien Ferguson, who went to Manchester United.
Oh, I remember Damien.
Yeah,
he was at United, I think, when I was there.
He became a barber, the Trinity barber. He was down near Grafton Street or somewhere like that.
That's right.
Yeah, but they're a real strong footballing family, and he's 18 years of age. He's 6'1", and boy, was that a good header he got against Leicester. So maybe, just maybe, he could be the answer to our Irish striking problems. I hope so. He looks a real good kid, and he's got 3 goals in the last 4 games. He got his chance over the Christmas period, and he's really taken it.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I didn't know it was Damien. I knew Damien very well, actually. He was a character. The header, John, against it's last minute at Leicester, 2-1 down, and it was 88th minute. It was a brilliant header, John. There was no pace on the ball. He had to get up, and he had to really power his head into the ball and dropped it right in the corner of the net. It was an old-fashioned, like Nat Lofthouse type of goal, from the old days where, there was a lot of work to be done and there wasn't a lot of power on the ball, which makes it very difficult. But as Liam says, he might do a favour for Stephen Kenny.
Oh, definitely. I mean, well, we need somebody, don't we, like that? We need somebody. We need the goal scorer there, But and hopefully he'll come through. I mean, just to go off that a little bit, Leicester. I don't know whether you're going to mention him or not, but I think he's in really big trouble, Brendan.
Brendan Rodgers, No, just tell him. I mean, he's made a lot of unforced errors in my view. That lad Maddison has been fit and he hasn't played him. I think he put him on for a minute at the end the other day. He's had some injuries, John, but I think he's made a lot of rods for his own back. He doesn't have Vardy in the team very often, although he did start at the weekend. It would be a big surprise, wouldn't it, John, if he was...
Well, it wouldn't be a surprise now. I mean,
No.
One of his comments was, some of my players don't care enough. I mean, if you start turning on your players, I think he's up against it there with the owners and directors. I think they've sold players. They said they needed the money. They're not backing him, and not just backing him. Like, they're selling his best players. I think he's looking to get away. I mean, you don't make comments about your players like that. It's dreadful.
Liam, Kasper Schmeichel was let go. So if you got the wrong owners and you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, no matter how good you are, and I think Brendan Rodgers is a good coach, there's nothing can save you.
But this is football, Eamon, isn't it?
Yep.
It's football in the Premier League. It's ruthless, isn't it? He was in a real bad position early on in the season, but he seemed to turn it around. But now they've lost a few more games. The fans seem to have turned on him. As John said, the owners, the Thai owners, are not putting as much money as they used to in, and he's in a difficult position, without any doubt.
Just on a final note to both of you, Rafa Benitez was in the job that Frank Lampard's in now at Everton. And I think Rafa's a top-class coach, but they wouldn't have him because of the Liverpool connection. So they may pay a price for that. Anyway, John, Giles and Liam Brady, we're very grateful to John and Liam every week. It's brilliant to have access to those minds and experience, and, of course, 2 great players themselves. So thanks to John and Liam.